hear it before anything else even registers, that sharp, unfiltered ring-a-ding-ding, cutting through cold morning air like it belongs to another time entirely. No digital polish, no cinematic enhancement, just mechanical rhythm bouncing through trees, over dirt, into memory itself. And suddenly, it doesn't feel like 2026 anymore. It feels like the 1970s again, when the Yamaha DT 175 wasn't a concept sketch, a forum argument, or a nostalgic revival debate. It was simply a machine you trusted with your mistakes, your curiosity, and your courage. Lightweight, loud in the most honest way, slightly unpredictable but always alive. A bike that didn't care who you were, only how far you were willing to go. Burnt two-stroke oil in the air, mud caked on boots and swing arm, the faint metallic smell of heat cycles and hard riding, and that feeling that every trail beyond the next bend was a decision, not a destination. That's why the 2026 DT 175 conversation has exploded far beyond typical motorcycle hype. Because this isn't just about bringing back a model. It's about trying to recover a riding philosophy that modern machines slowly engineered out of existence. But reality always interrupts nostalgia. Across enthusiast communities, especially in Acer rider discussions, the 2026 concept renders have sparked equal parts excitement and frustration. Not because people don't want it, but because they refuse to see it done wrong. Let's start with the most immediate issue: mechanical credibility. The DT 175 was never a design exercise. It was a functional object with a very specific identity. A single-cylinder two-stroke dual sport built for simplicity and survival-level usability. So when modern concept art shows inconsistent mechanical details, like dual exhaust routing on layouts that clearly don't support it, or frame geometries that ignore engine packaging logic, the reaction is instant. Because that's not modern interpretation, that's mechanical fiction, and the community has been very clear. If Yamaha brings this back, it has to respect engineering truth first. Everything else is secondary. No exaggerated styling, no AI-generated complexity. Just a machine that looks like it could actually be built and ridden without breaking its own logic. So, what should a real 2026 Yamaha DT 175 actually be? Start with the engine. A single-cylinder platform, modernized with fuel injection. Not to erase the past, but to make it livable in the present. Cold starts that actually start. Fuel delivery that doesn't require ritual tuning. Consistency across altitude, temperature, and terrain. But, and this is where Yamaha has to be careful, it still needs character. It cannot feel like a sterilized commuter engine. It needs that immediate throttle response. That slightly raw, slightly vibrating personality that reminds you it's still a small displacement dual sport with attitude. Then comes the defining number. Weight. Under 130 kilograms wet. Not target, not estimated. Non-negotiable. Because the DT 175 was never impressive because of horsepower. It was impressive because it disappeared beneath you when the trail got technical. It changed direction faster than your thoughts. It forgave mistakes by refusing to feel heavy enough to punish you for them. That sensation is the entire identity of the bike. Lose it, and you lose everything. Now the chassis. Minimal, but not fragile. A frame designed around flexibility balance rather than rigid over-engineering. Suspension with long travel and real off-road compliance, not just marketing numbers. Something that absorbs rocks, roots, and bad decisions without turning the ride into a vague floating experience. And yes, the high-mounted exhaust returns. But not as nostalgia decoration, as functional necessity. Water crossings, rocky climbs, deep ruts, trail debris. The original DT 175 wasn't designed to look adventurous, it was designed to survive adventure. That philosophy has to stay intact. But here's where the debate gets interesting, and where the rider community splits into two very loud camps. One side wants absolute purity. No ABS, no traction control, no ride-by-wire, no digital interference. Just a throttle cable, a clutch lever, and consequences that teach you how to ride properly. They want kickstarting. They want choke control. They want mechanical responsibility. For them, the DT 175 should feel like a conversation between rider and machine, unfiltered, sometimes unforgiving, but always honest. The other side argues something just as valid. They want ABS, not to make the bike soft, but to make it survivable in modern terrain, conditions where trails are steeper, mixed surface, and more unpredictable than they were 50 years ago. They want LED lighting because riding doesn't end at sunset anymore. They want fuel injection because reliability matters when you're far from help. They want safety systems not as distractions, but as enablers of longer, safer exploration. And both sides are really fighting for the same principle. Don't ruin what made the DT175 special. They just disagree on what special should mean in 2026. Because the truth is uncomfortable, the original wasn't perfect. It was simple, yes, but also noisy, temperamental, and demanding. It broke. It needed attention. It required patience. But that imperfection is exactly what made it unforgettable. Modern riders aren't necessarily asking for that difficulty back. They're asking for the feeling it created. So the question Yamaha has to answer is not just technical, it's philosophical. Do you build a machine that forces riders to adapt to it? Or do you build a machine that adapts just enough to let more riders experience what made the original legendary? That tension is the entire future of the DT175 revival. And it's why this conversation matters far beyond nostalgia. Because lightweight dual sport riding itself is disappearing under weight, electronics, and complexity. The DT175 represents something increasingly rare: immediacy. A direct line between intention and motion. No layers, no filters, just ride. So when riders argue about its return, they're not arguing about a product. They're arguing about whether that kind of riding still deserves to exist. And that's why this matters more than spec sheets or marketing language. Because the 2026 Yamaha DT175 won't be judged like a normal motorcycle launch. It will be judged like a cultural statement, a declaration about what Yamaha believes motorcycling should feel like in an era where everything else is becoming heavier, smarter, and more controlled. But there's one last thing. A final detail that's been circulating quietly in rider discussions and prototype speculation threads, something that hasn't been confirmed anywhere but keeps appearing in insider rumor form. If this revival happens, there's talk of a hidden factory heritage mode, not a performance boost, not a ride setting, but a locked-in classic trail configuration that strips back assist systems, simplifies throttle mapping, and emulates the response behavior of early DT models as closely as modern engineering allows, a mode not meant for everyone, but meant for those who want to feel what the original felt like, translated, not recreated. Now, that's still speculation, but it's the kind of idea that shows where Yamaha could take this if they truly understand what the DT name represents. And that's where you come in, because this isn't just a manufacturer decision anymore, it's a rider conversation. So here's the question. Should the 2026 DT175 stay pure and mechanical, even if it limits modern convenience? Or should it evolve into a retro-modern dual sport with fuel injection, ABS, LED lighting, and smart safety systems done carefully enough to preserve its soul? Drop your answer in the comments. And not just that, tell the story. If you ever rode a DT175, what do you remember most? The sound, the breakdowns, the trails, the freedom, or the chaos? And if you never did, what made you want one in the first place? Because this isn't just a revival idea anymore. It's a crossroads. And whichever direction riders choose, it won't just define a motorcycle. It'll define what kind of riding still matters.